next one up is Pulley Rig. So this one's a little bit different in that I had a little gift somewhere around here, but I can't find it now. But essentially, it's done so that you've come down your main line, and then you've got a swivel, and then you have two lead lines leading off. Obviously, one is your hook on one side, and the other side you'll have your sinker. Generally, like in the pictures here, you've got breakaway sinkers. You can use other sinkers, obviously, but these are designed for rocks, so that's why we use the breakaway sinkers. They're more useful for rocks, and the good point around them is that to avoid losing your fish as you're pulling it over the structures, it helps with the snagging problem that can come in as you're trying to reel it in. As items get snagged, you don't want to lose your fish just because your sinker or some part of your line got stuck. And you use what we call these breakaway or impact clips. So see how this is bait clip. So this is like a bait clip. This is a similar style one. So what you're doing is you're basically baiting your hook, and then the hook actually clicks on to your clip. So it's all in one line. So when you cast it out, this comes away from the actual clip. It free flows through the swivel at the top. You don't need this. See this swivel here? You don't actually need this swivel right there if you don't want it. But it stops this from spinning around and keeps it presented nice. The bead stops the actual hook from running past your sinker here, but allows, when the fish takes the bait here, it'll pull this bait, which will actually pull this sinker off the bottom, and that's how you avoid the snag. And then you pull your line in this way, so it pulls the actual sinker straight up to the main line swivel, and then you fish along with it. So that's why it's great and good for rock fishing. Next one up, this is what we call bucktails. Basically these style or flashy lures where there's a lot of that sort of tassel hairy things with hooks coming off it, where you can either attach bait or soft plastics onto. Some have eyelets, some have heavier weights. So you can use these if you've done with your previous Pulley rig, where instead of a star sinker at the bottom, you can take the star sinker clip off, clip on a lure or heavier lure or a heavier bucktail right at the bottom to add your weight, so you can cast. And then if it's a lure, that's fine, leave it as a lure. Otherwise, if it's a bucktail with a heavy weight on the front for your casting distance, you can attach a either bait itself or soft plastic to help attract your fish. And then further up your line on a dropper, you might actually just simply attach the flash hooks, which are just simply the hooks that got some tassels and flashes around them, and they look like bait fish. So as you're reeling in the line, a bit like you would with the main lure, as it's reeling in, that flash looks like a bait fish. So you might find they hit that instead of the lure. This is not the same, but it's a combo where you can see simply they put this one's the heavier version at the top and the lighter version down the bottom. Sorry, that's the correction. This is actually a floated version. So this one sits above, this one sits below, with a swivel between to try and keep this straight as it's coming in. Allows this to bend and move. So this works great if you notice that the fish aren't biting on the bottom of the ground with your other rig, and you want to say, I want to target fish close to the surface, and you want to be able to use lures or other options. Then you can swiftly change out what you've got and have a crack with those. So these are great as an extra option to add to your kit. So I've got quite a lot of these different hooks in my stuff, so it's a simple matter of looping them on. And I'll show you when I do one of these up, how simple it is to put it, when you've got to drop a loop, to loop that around one of these flashy doors so that you can quickly change that out if you want to, and so forth. And you can add more than one or two to them as well. They're very useful to have multiple options there. But I'll go through that when I actually make those up for you guys as well. Now, when it comes to soft plastics and lure variations, this is when I'm looking at not just as a way of combining what the rigs that we've already done with soft plastics and bucktails and flashy lures or flashy hooks and so forth, where to if you want to transition away from bait, or you want to use bait and soft plastics at the same time, this is where you can do the same sort of thing. So this is a similar, both of these are very similar to each other, where a simple, normal, what you see from an oil pan master with the offshoots coming to the side. Instead here, he's got a soft plastic that's probably a little bit lighter sitting up the top. Here's one with the flashy hooks with another style soft plastic hanging off there, so that and this one's holding it closer to the bottom, and these are floating in the current. The tails are wagging to attract the fish, and these tassels also go with the current. So this is another option you can use if you're wanting to resort to soft plastics rather than just throwing out a single line with one soft plastic on it. Use what you've got. Use the lures the rigs you already made up, and just modify them. And that's what I'd like to do. I like to do is be able to interchange my stuff, because fish are sometimes particular about what they want. So this one's where you got lead off. These ones are simple dropper lines, and they're rigged right close to the main line. You can do both of those style. This one here is an interesting one where you've got your simple dropper loops coming off here with those flashy hooks that I'm talking about. That you don't necessarily need to have bait on them. A lot of fish go for these flashy hooks regardless. Nice long shake with it, and you'll find that sometimes they'll target this. In the end, you can put your lure, depending on what lure you want. This one's got a spoon or a spinner lure. So as you're reeling your line in, your lure's spinning at the back, which also spin all of these around. So that flash from the lure might catch something, or the flash from these little hooks might catch the smaller fish as well. So it gives you lots of options. Now here we've got a Carolina version, or a a slip sinker rig, or a Carolina rig with a soft plastic on the end. Same with the fact a feeder, the fish feeder, the same design you can use for both, but putting a soft plastic on the end instead of bait. So this way, the same thing you do with two of the other options. Instead, switch to soft plastics, and you can rig them up in different ways. So this is one way of rigging, another way of rigging, another way of rigging, and below here, if you can see it, it's another version of rigging. And let's see if I can grab a picture. Here it is. Here's another one. Don't worry about the title, because it's pretty much the same as the Carolina, but this one has you see these soft plastics which look like little worms. So you just put a hook through the bottom of it, and you let this sit on the bottom. So this will attract, as it dressed up like a bit of a worm, so it can attract the whiting or stuff that's sit on foraging along the bottom. And your sinker helps it sit on the bottom, and this floats with the current. So you can use these with soft plastics as well. So that's another variation of that. So summary, essentially, I just wanted to go over some of the main common rigs you got with the variations to those rigs. And we'll add options to our rigs to increase the odds of hooking up as we present a lot of variety. Because you don't know, technically, you might not know what species you've got out there. So throwing out these options, you're giving you your best chance of getting stuff. Now, so in my follow-up videos, as it says here, I'll be doing the rigs up so you can see them done in full tide, done properly with actually tied up with swivels and with dropper lines to show you the difference and what it looks like. And then I'll also show you how I like to use, with my preference, the ability to interchange out the options and how quickly you can change those options in and out to change in, say, soft plastics or lures or floats and so forth to adjust to the conditions, because every time you go out, it'll be a different condition. So there are a huge number of other different rigs out there. There's tons. You don't need a lot of them. Most of the ones that we cover here will cover most of it. You get bottom feeding, you got, shallow feeding, midway feeding, and if you can vary your rigs up according to that, and change your baiting options according to some of these, and if you can add more of them in on the rig, the better the chance you're going to have of catching stuff. So hopefully at least this covers off a few things, and then when we do the rigs on video for you, you can see what they look like, and then you can relate it back to the video and why we use them and when they're best used for. So hopefully that was helpful, and until next time, good luck.